Hi and welcome to the Sunday Lunch Project Manager podcast for Sunday the 21st of August 2022. This week we've got the second part of my interview with Tammy Watchorn, the Change Ninja. So this week we are again supported by Tamplo. Tamplo is a online tool that turns meetings into actions and has a number of different features. The bit I'm going to talk about today is around the project and task management and follow-up. Essentially, you have a clear dashboard that shows you an overview of scheduled tasks, alert for late tasks, an overview of team's progress. It saves you jumping into your Outlook and being diverted by that morass of email that we get. You can create your own daily plan in there, or you can, as a project manager, you may be assigning tasks to people, and those people can look at those, have their own daily plans, adding in their own specific items they've got to do, as well as the things allocated to them. For the project management point of view, you get a dedicated dashboard with a list of tasks, knowing what people are working on each project, and there's a load of collaboration capability in there, with the goal of getting no task left undone, more efficiency and motivation, and clear action plans. So if you want to see what this is all about, jump along to tinyurl.com/Nigel Creaser Tamplo. That's all one word, Nigel Creaser Tamplo. Have fun. Well, what's been going on in my world? Mainly holidays, to be quite frank. I had a week off not long after the last podcast was released, or either side of it, should I say. Properly chilled, gorgeous weather, and spent a lot of time in the sea with my paddleboard, with my daughters, and just messing around and chilling. So had a fantastic time. Loving it, really. And then this last week we went camping for a night as well, looking out over the west, from the west of Wales, out over the sea at a gorgeous campsite called Kaidu, chilled, playing games. It's been fantastic. So I've had a lot of relaxing time, should I say. What else has been going on? Actually, this morning I read a really interesting article that I think would be of interest to you guys. It's called The Project Economy Has Arrived by Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, a guest that I've got on my list of people who I'd like to interview, and I've just not got around to talking to Antonio yet. But it's really interesting talking about how we've moved from we're moving from, should I say, the traditional operational side of an organisation and the project side of organisations being kind of the balance towards operations rather than to project. And I agree with some of the things he's saying in there, and the fact that it does feel like all businesses are project-based businesses. All businesses are tending to be IT-based businesses as well, with the operations kind of shoring them up. And it's interesting the way that we're changing and especially with the work where people are working, the change of emphasis. So it's a really good article. I'm about halfway through, and it's challenging some of my thinking. So I'll put a link in the show notes to that. Recommend you jump along and have a read. What else have I been reading and looking at in the last couple of days? It's probably hybrid working and things like that. The other thing is an article I saw, or a brief LinkedIn post I saw, talking about what companies are going to do about retaining talent and remote working being the norm. And I think it is, we've seen a few organisations saying we want people back in offices. I think governments and large having large empty offices in the centre of cities and shops and the sort of ecosystem around the large cities being impacted because people aren't there I can see the concern for that, but I can also see the benefit of the fact that we've got why work and travel or relocate
to a place where actually most of the work you can do is remote. You can do it online, which I kind of embrace, really. I find it, I've travelled for many years up until lockdown, a few times where I worked from home as well, but not for full weeks. And I found that I didn't mind the commute. I got used to it. It was between 45 minutes and an hour and a half at times, and sometimes a lot more. But got to the point where having worked from home, the benefits of not needing to travel every day, because the work I'm doing isn't necessary to travel every day. And then I really found the benefit of combining activities. So I will take a walk and I will be on a conference call. Unfortunately, sometimes the headphones are a bit more sensitive, depending on which ones I'm using. And I think the other day I was walking along a little bit of a gravel path while on a call, and everyone thought I was eating cornflakes at the same time. Other corn things, Kellogg's, not different, whatever they're called. And then I was in London the following day, a couple of days later, travelling down there, face-to-face meeting with colleagues, quite a few of us getting together. It was fantastic. It was 15, 16 of us together, working through stuff, going out for a meal later on and having a chat. And it was really good, and we were building relationships, but I am very much focused on, even to the point of probably not going into an office and not taking a laptop, because I want to work with people, I want to collaborate, and I want to build relationships. So it's changed my emphasis from going into the office as a routine and just doing stuff to, right, how do I maximize that face-to-face contact? How do I maximize that people time? So I've been, it's an interesting, it was a PMI post I saw. It's an interesting thing to be thinking about. I think if organisations don't embrace it, and I think they have by default, but I think there's still pushback, it reduces their talent pool, because people will be looking, or either already looking for roles like that, or will look for that ability to be flexible and have that chance to be at home, chance to focus on that work. Podcasts wise, I have quite a few lined up. 2 more got lined up this week. So I think, looking at it now, if I get all the interviews in the bag, it's coming out as May next year that we got scheduled, which is fantastic news. I am always looking for people to interview, and from next month this will go weekly, so you'll get your weekly fix of these fantastic guests that I've got, so you won't have to wait as long for the part 2s. I am contemplating combining them and having them single interview releases, but I'm holding back on that at the moment. I suppose the only thing to mention other than that really is, obviously, today is this episode goes out on the 21st of August. Tammy's, if you've got this and listened to it on that day or the following day, just urge you that Tammy's book is out on the 22nd of August, the ebook, and if you can get a copy of it between 10 and 11 a.m. GMT, that will help her boost her up the ratings, and help other people get visibility of it, because getting visibility is one of the challenges within Amazon, even with using Amazon ads. The visibility of you as a author can be quite a challenge. So if you are minded to get that at 99p, it's a bargain. So I urge you to dive in there on that first day and try and grab a digital copy of it. I think the paperback comes out the following day, which is I have a copy, and it's going with me on my next holiday. Yes, I'm hardly ever here, which I scoot away next week, and we're heading off to Greece, which is going to be fantastic. First foreign holiday for quite a long while. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to leave you to listen to the interview with Tammy. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers now. Bye.
Now, and you mentioned Lego Serious Play there, and I'd not really heard of it much. We'd used Lego in a few things before now, and I interviewed a guy called Simon Dutton, who's fairly local to me here, and then we had him come along to my project management community and run some Lego serious play sessions. And what we did, I think we had 5 people. It was to illustrate it and explain how we could use it. And the question that we used was, or they used was, describe what lockdown was like for you. So everyone had the same Lego, and they built their version of what they thought was lockdown. There it was, and all these 5 very different, and they're 10 minutes to do it, and these 5 very different structures that were created. And that's like, well, yeah, that's fair enough, fine, whatever. And then Simon asked them to explain what they meant. And that's when the individuals lit up, and they're very different characters. I've known all of them from before, and they're very different characters and a very different level of sort of outgoingness and things like that. But when they talked about what they created, you really got the emotion, you really got the deep understanding of what was going on there, and that you wouldn't have got if you just said, how's lockdown been for you? Oh, you know, not that great. And I was sat there watching this, having kind of listened to Simon and thought, yeah, this is great, and then watched it in live in action happening. I was sitting there going, this is astounding how good this is. Which
it blows me away every time I use it. It's so powerful, so powerful. And just the insights that you get yourself.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I get people to build something, and then I'll get them to move a brick. So I do quite a lot of growth mindset. I don't know if you're familiar with growth and fixed mindset.
I've read some stuff on it, not a great deal.
So fixed mindset, you tell yourself you can't do it, you're not smart enough, you're not clever enough, and you give up. Growth mindset, doesn't matter how bad you are, you want to do it. There's something different about you. You might want to learn tennis, you might be useless at it, but you'll persevere, you'll practice and practice. So, and none of us are in one or the other all the time. So it depends what it is. So I get people to build something they've got a fixed mindset to. Might be signing up to that uni course or learning French for the holiday, whatever it is, and work out what's blocking them. You then build a growth mindset and you get them to tell the story. So they're really really digging deep, because what Lego does, it allows you to build things you haven't consciously put together verbally in your head.
Yeah.
So it's not until you start telling the story that you really get the full story out. So that's one of the powerful things. But then you build a growth mindset, and what allowed me to go to university part-time while I had 3 kids and 4 jobs, because there's things in there. And then you connect them. So you take from your growth mindset, what allowed me to do it, to your fixed mindset. And you can hear, I'm just very quiet at that bit. Everyone does it themselves, and I'm quite often do it virtually. You can hear the kind of the penny dropping. You can hear the thing unblocking from the fixed mindset.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do. And just great stories emerge. But I know there's been some real successes that have actually, people have then, it's given them the answer that they need to go off and do what they need to do. It's incredible tool. It really is.
Yeah, it's an area of training that and do you know what? It's going to be 2 years ago now. I think probably maybe not that long since we talked about Simon. And I've got a new team that I'm working with, and I've had challenges that I've had the previous year. And just in that conversation we just had there, it's just realized that I could have used Lego.
Yeah.
It's serious play in those environments to help us move past some real challenges.
Yeah. I
can see some coming forward in the minute at the moment. So there is I've just took a note there.
My day rates are reasonable.
Yeah, well, I'll have to see if I can get some funding on those sort of things.
I would say to anyone that wants to use it, I mean, you can self-teach, but if you're going to use it in earnest, I would definitely do some formal training.
Yeah.
Because it looks easy, but it's not as easy as it looks. There's most things that look easy. I would definitely advise on getting proper training if you're going to use it in earnest. But yeah, do you know, even just people building what they're going to do at the weekend or building their perfect holiday, you start to find things out about the team without saying, let's all share something about each other that we don't know.
Yeah.
So it's again, like Cube, like the neuroscience stuff, it creates a safe environment for people to open up without saying, we're all going to do a group hug today and love each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it just gets you, and you can choose how much you want to share. There's
yeah.
no, but people
Yeah.
do, they just open up because it's in a very different way. So
Yeah, because I think the thing is, when you build something or make something or create something, you put some emotion into that creation, and thought into it. And a similar thing, I went on a creative writing course a few weeks back, just on a single session, and it was around poetry. And one of the lessons that they had in, or one of the tools they used in there, was where you wrote, basically write down, I remember, and then it's when. So I remember I hated, I remember I loved, I remember, there's a number of different words that you had in there, and then you finished it off. And then, no, I remember hating, I remember loving, I remember seeing, I remember doing, or what, and then at the end of it, you take the I remember off, and then you read out the loving this, doing that, seeing the other. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it and found really good fun. Me and my daughter had been to this, and we both written this down. And then I had a workshop the other week with the team. The first time we got together face to face, and some of us first time we've met each other, some of us first time been in the building. And I thought, what am I going to do as that kind of team building starty thing? And I said, I'll try this, see what happens. And you know what? In a similar kind of way, from the team, every single person had an entirely different poem that they'd created, and every single one gave us a little insight into that individual and gave us something to talk to them about while we were going around and understand it. Now, some people in the room weren't full on into it and stuff, as you get with everything like that, and the same with the Lego sort of stuff. And it was really fascinating, the poems that came out of there. And it's something I will, with a group of people who I don't know, again, I will use it again, because I thought it would just work so well to do that sort of thing, is that those icebreakers, but an icebreaker that gave you some information rather than tell me about yourself, turn to the person left of you and tell them what you had for breakfast on Tuesday. It's hard, and it's hard from a workshop point of view to be able to create those first sessions to get people knowing each other. But I do think the Lego stuff is, again, it like you say, breaks down boundaries, doesn't it? And listening to what you said about your book and the gamifying of that learning, it's kind of got that. I can see that thread that goes all the way through the things that you're talking about there.
Yeah, it's interesting, because because when I went independent, people would say, what is it you're going to do? And I'm like, I'm not really, or what is it you do? And I'm like, well, I do this and this. You know, I hadn't really got a story, and I'd got all these bits. So I'd got Cube, I'd got Lego Serious Play, and then latterly I've done the neuroscience. And last summer I did a coaching course, brain science based coaching course, and it's all just come together. They all, it's like different bits of the jigsaw puzzles. And when you combine them all, and I recently had someone who said, I need to do something with my team, what can you do? So I kind of listed all the things. I said, we could do this, or we could do this. He said, I'll just do them all, because they actually all work really, really well together. I do the neuroscience on Cube. I do Lego Serious Play on Cube. They don't have to be on Cube. I did a face-to-face the other week with Lego Serious Play. And we created, it was amazing what we did in 2 days. We had a vision for the team. We'd got all the connections to different organisations that they had to think about. They'd worked out their outcomes and the measures.
Is that like the process flow type ones? Yeah, I've seen people doing that.
All the skills that they needed, and then they all described their perfect job in this team based on the skills needed. And then we needed a plan, because I hate workshops when you go, it was a great day, but what next? So we did a plan, but we did the plan up because they use Cube on Cube. So when they got back into the office Monday, the 12-month plan was on the board. And it was a safe space. We had some fun. We used lots of, but to do all of that in a day and a half and come away with the plan that everyone had agreed what their actions were to just get on with it on Monday, it was amazing. So all of the bits go, and we do lots of coaching in there as well. So neuroscience course has got coaching in it, which we can do one-to-one or in small groups. again, to get your insights, because it's the best way to learn, is what are your, and building some of those insights with Lego and sharing that in the team. You're creating a safe space for people to be quite open with the things that they struggle with sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I've read, I can understand that, because I've read a few LinkedIn posts and a few other things around that psychological safety in the work environment, around how it's something that is needed in order for innovation, because and for problem solving and that growth mindset. Because if you do not feel safe in the environment you're in, you will go, right, okay, so what do I do to stay safe?
Yeah.
And that's it's that whole, it's a little bit like that scenario where you say to someone, right, it's the carrot and the stick scenario. People don't have, by hitting someone with a stick, they don't find a way to be better at what they're doing. They find a way to not be hit by the stick. Yeah. Whereas if it's a carrot, you find out, how do I get the carrot? And it is, and it, avoiding being beaten, or it's the same thing. It's those basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If one of those is threatened, you're going to try and avoid that threat. You're not going to be then looking to that higher level of, actually, how could we do this? Or and it, as you say, it closes off that brain, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you talked about diversity earlier. I think we're terrible at being diverse. There's the obvious diversity target type stuff, which organizations are pretty good at, but diversity of brain. Organization, they shut you down. They'll shut down your ideas because it's not. But when you get a team together in a safe space and you give them some Lego, and everyone does it, I've not had anybody who won't do it. So even people, they've started off with their arms folded. I'm not playing with Lego, I'm an adult. There's a process to go through that shifts everyone beyond that. But because everybody's building an idea and then telling that story, doesn't shut it down, and it feels safe because it can't be wrong. No,
because that's your, and that's the same one
story. Yeah. And then you take a story from over there with one from over there, and you put them together. Most innovations are a mashup of 2 or 3 things that already exist.
Yeah.
So when you've got and you're getting real diversity in a very safe way, and it doesn't matter if it's about, and quite often when I'm doing a workshop, I'll push it, so it'll be like, what's your ideas, and then I'll keep going. So you go to 3 or 4 individual builds, you start getting into some real weird ideas, but actually there's quite often a nugget in it. Yeah. When you put it with 2 or 3 other things, you've got a really innovative idea solution coming forward.
And I think that it's I was talking to someone the other day, and I can't remember who it was, but it was we were talking about ideas, and the fact is that it was someone whose husband come up with lots of ideas, and none of them particularly good. There's only he reckons 1 in 10 works, and I'm like, that's pretty good going, that is. And the idea creating ideas isn't about creating solutions. Ideas is about creating ideas, coming up with the suggestions, coming up with something there. Not everything in the old-fashioned suggestion box was implemented, but how many of those suggestions, those ideas, have triggered, we can't do that, but we couldn't do that, but what if? And and that's the whole point of it, isn't it? Is about that collaboration of creating that idea to say, well, we can't do that, and everyone talks about what's his name and his sticky notes and the glue that didn't work. As an example, it comes a little bit cliche in some ways, but I think it's that whole freedom to innovate. I don't know what your thoughts are, but it starts in secondary school, getting knocked out of you.
Yep.
Because I have a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old. My 15-year-old is brilliant in my mind. But maybe I've got rose-tinted spectacles, whatever. But even so, creativity, that sort of thing. But the conversations I have to have is, but that school isn't about that. Secondary school is about making a tick against the things that people in wherever believe are important. Yeah. It's not the end of it. It's not the be all and end all. It is just the steps to get to the point where you can go and innovate. You can go and be creative. You can be given permission to get on and do what the hell you like. And I think that, but then we go into the workplace, and if we haven't had that thought process, and I don't think I had it, was going into the workplace, and it's about compliance. It's about fitting in with the Borg for all the Star Trek fans out there. It is about making sure that you comply to what that organization wants you to do. And then everyone goes, we are an organization that are disruptors, but everything has these ridiculously complicated processes that have to be done in exactly the same way, and no one may be doing anything else, but we're a disruptor. And it's kind of like, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, fine. You can be a disruptor, but there's got to be a way of allowing that innovation, that creativity of the individuals, because there's so much power in organizations. And unfortunately, the biggest, and it's a nature of the leverage of larger organizations, though, isn't it? Is that because it's so big, you've got to control it. In order to control it, you've got to put rules in place. If you put the rules in place, people only follow the rules, and they don't do anything but the rules, because if you've hit them with a stick, they get told off because they've stepped outside the rules. And that's where it's not, I'm not sitting here saying it's dead easy, you can do that, but that's why small organizations innovate quicker. That's why small organizations tend to, you get them breaking down the barriers, or the large organizations that allow that, or supposedly allow that process. So the Googles and those, where they go, right, there's that little incubator that goes off and does what they want, and then when it comes something, they then fold it into the corporate structure and then put the constraints around it to bring it into a deliverable product. But that first bit is the bit where the ideas come, and if you do not allow that room, you struggle.
Yeah, you need to create the space. I think as well, rule break is probably not a great term, because it just, people want to be rule breakers or disruptors, or they're against it. And it's not really about breaking the rules. It's about finding ways around it. There's a really good book that helps explain all of this. There's some really great tools. It's called The Change Ninja Handbook.
You've been practicing your pitching, haven't you? Well, yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's like you said, it's about working within the constraints that you've got and pushing. Sometimes you have to push everything to the limit of those constraints. And sometimes you need to step over those constraints, so that when, I believe you need to step over them sometimes to prove. As long as you, but it draws me to another one. Listening at musicians, about learning how to be a musician and learning how to be the best musician, or whatever. You get some musicians that don't play the right notes, in quotes, or talented jazz musicians who play just weird freeform jazz, whatever, but works. But they have to be good. They have to know the basics. They have to get all the way through that solid knowledge to be able to do that and break the rule and challenge that rule and step across it, to know that it would work. And there's those sort of, us as project managers, as delivery change agents, it's about going, well, we always change it like this. That's fine. We always do this process. That's fine. Challenge it, push back on it, understand why you're doing it, and go there and go, well, I'm not doing that part of a governance process. Why aren't you doing it? Because this is the risk if I do it, if I don't do it, and this is the cost if I do it. Therefore, I'm willing to take that risk. Therefore, because I've got it within my budget, the costs out, I'm okay. But you've got to be able to, sometimes you've got mavericks, as you say, who just go off and do whatever they want. But if you're consciously going, I'm not doing that, not doing that, not doing that, not doing that, I'm just doing this, that's fine. Or you've got the other end of, I must do every page of the Prince manual and take it all. And I know there are people out there who do that, and it's kind of, and deliver really bad projects because they don't like people.
it's just paperwork.
Yeah, and it just but you've got to be balanced there. And it sounds like your book's going to give some ideas around how you do that in a more controlled manner.
I think it gives the ideas, and it also, you know, there's a really key bit is think through what's going to happen if I do that next. So if I make that, if I don't do that bit of governance, or if I go around that person, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
So plan it out in advance, and if you plan it out, you'll know what's going to happen next. It's a lot easier to sell the idea of why you're not doing X or Y, or why that rule is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And but you have to put the work in. It's not just going in all guns blazing and saying this is ridiculous, I'm breaking the rules, because you'll get nowhere. You'll just make enemies.
Yeah.
So again, it's being ninja with it.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people around me go, right, organization decisions. This is the person who can make this decision, and being told like, oh, if you make you're not authorized to take that risk. And I'm kind of like, why? Well, you'll get hauled over the coals and sacked, or you'll get hauled over the coals, told off, you won't get your performance. Okay, so if I'm willing to take that risk, it is within my risk. I might get my wrist slapped, but I've taken that risk because it's what's going to happen. There's my so they're going to shout at me. Will they sack me? Possibly, but highly unlikely unless I'm do a like what's his name at Bearing Bank sort of thing. Because again, he took the risks. He took those personal risks. He chose to take those. Now, whether he thought them all the way through, or maybe the guy on the boat, the canoe or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't you know what I mean?
It could have got away with it.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? If you're thinking all the way through these things, and these are odd, extreme examples, but if you think
you're de-risking your decisions.
Yeah, and you're either accepting or not. What you can't do is do these kind of avoiding these things, as you say, hacking off a senior stakeholder who's going to stop every project you're going to go in, and then moaning about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you've made a conscious decision to take that risk, you've taken that risk, and that's end of. And you can't moan about it.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't moan about it, should I say? It's just So I think thinking on the innovation side of it again. You said at some time before I forget to say it to you. There's an interviewee that I had called Ramon Vullings, probably a couple of years ago now. It's the Idea DJ. His title. He's from I can't remember whether he's from Holland or Belgium. I think he's lived in one and I can't remember which one he's from. Anyway, and he talks about how innovations happen by having different parts of cross industry innovation. Yeah. There's some really interesting stuff, and the one that he talks about is around the American Navy, and they were having vehicles built, submarines built, and all the kits run on Microsoft. And what they had to do was a missile control tool or something like that, or torpedo or something, I can't remember which it was. And they're like, well, what are we going to use? Right, it's going to cost umpty £1,000 to have one of these control units or whatever. And then someone said, well, why don't we use an Xbox controller? Because everyone who's in here who's a 20-year-old knows how to use one of those. They cost $50. Yeah, they are produced in the millions. Yeah, and it's kind of like those someone would cross things to go, why didn't we think of that? That's obvious, isn't it? But then it isn't obvious, but it is.
Yeah, and so if you had a Lego session, that would probably, how do we control this? Someone would build a games controller, probably in the first round.
Yeah.
And I think the real challenge with organizations, or at least my experience in the health services, innovation became a thing. Digital workplace became a thing, but they became a thing without, you don't need to innovate to be better.
No.
We could have just get rid of that process over there, because it's a total waste of time and it's achieving nothing.
Yeah.
So, but that's not, they don't want to do that. And I'm not sure how much and there was a few innovations while I was there that, but a lot of it was buying things.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and there's so many, you go out to a bunch of nurses and say, how can we improve the process on the ward? You'll come up with. So there was one, I was working with a guy, consultant on the stroke ward, and they were struggling with nurses in terms of they didn't have enough, and how do we know how the patients are feeling every day because they can't all communicate, or the families come in and the families want to tell us how they think the patient's doing. And we just came up, I didn't come up with the idea, I'd read it somewhere else, but it was just a little smiley face, emojis. And you just have a slider. It's not innovation. It exists already, but it's a really quick way to do a mood. They probably do them in schools. But a moodogram for the patient who's struggling to articulate how they're feeling.
It's perfect, isn't it? I saw something where at one of the conference centres that we've got, on the way out, there's 3 buttons on a little unit: smiley, neutral, happy. That you walk past on the way out.
Just press one. You get them at the airports as well, I think now, don't you?
I think you do, But and it's kind of rather than doing a survey, rather than sending someone an email, just go press the button. Actually, what you're going to get, if someone's really happy, you're going to get to know about it. You might know about it. If someone's really peed off, you're going to know about those, aren't you? And then you've got your trend. And then if you got the trend, you kind of go, right, what's not happening here? What's going wrong? And that's I can see how that really would simple. And it is sometimes the simplest things are the best things.
It doesn't need to be all digital, and it doesn't need to be all innovation. It's just making it better. I agree. Well, I think I had a fantastic chat. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, me too. I don't know what it's going to sound like.
Well, it'll sound like a lot of the other ones, Oreo, which is slightly meandering conversation around a lot of things around the change arena. And well, some people keep listening, so there you go. So hopefully some people will enjoy it. If people want to carry on the conversation, want to find out more about you, what is the best way to get in touch?
So LinkedIn's easy to find me, or Twitter at tammywatchorn.com, or thechangeninjahandbook.com is coming very soon.
Brilliant. And what's the date again that book's out?
23rd of August.
23rd of August. So
you can pre-order it on Amazon, I believe. All
right, available for pre-order now. This is probably going to go out sometime around that time anyway.
Okay, it's on all the sites already.
Brilliant, fantastic.
And Cube, if anyone's interested in looking more at Cube, it's qube.cc.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, thank you, Tammy, and I hope you have a fabulous evening. And good luck with the book launch.
Thank you, and I've really enjoyed that. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that second part of that interview with Tammy. I know I did. There's some fascinating and unique ways that she's looking at helping you navigate change. Her book's available now, so pop along to the website, nigelcreaser.com, look for the shop, and you'll be able to find a link there, or have a look in the show notes, and you'll grab a copy of her new book, The Change Ninja Handbook. So, look after yourselves. Speak soon. Bye.
Well, it's goodbye from me, Nigel Creaser, and it's goodbye from him, the Sunday Lunch PM. Goodbye.